Hello and welcome to the Coach Replay Show. My name is Kim Ramadan, and I'm excited to share with you a conversation I had with Lindsey Deacon about teacher efficacy. There was one really great strategy in this episode that we wanted to highlight for you, which includes teachers really setting an intention for the day. I hope you enjoy this conversation that we had together. You can click the link in the description for the full episode. Be sure to subscribe to our notes and takeaways and tune in next week for another Coach Replay Show. Thanks.
Yeah, I think especially the coaches and the teachers that I've seen sort of make it through this really trying time have been those who are like efficacious and feel confident about their own skills. And that doesn't mean that we don't all have moments of feeling like, man, this is really hard and I don't know if I can do it. But I think always being a learner, right? Like that we're always learning no matter what it is, and being open to new learning opportunities. And then one strategy I think that like we've referred to in our survival guide, but I just use, and I think it really helped me. It's really simple. It's like in the morning, you want to set your intentions on the day. So like whether you're like in the shower or you're driving to work or, you're just like visualizing what you want your day to look like. And so I just think to myself, like, who do I want to be today? How do I want to show up? So, it's one thing if it's like the first week of school, you're going to show up one way, and it's a different way if you know that there's going to be something tense or toxic happening, or, if there's like some giant emergency, you just know that you want to just pre-visualize, how you're going to show up, and then what skills you might need to develop that day. If you're leading PD, it's one thing. If you're like managing a team, it's another. So those skills I think always really help me just to like set the intentions. And then at the end of the day, like ask yourself, how'd it go? Yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely connected to the idea of like always growing and always learning, right?
Yeah.
That end piece is really important.
Yeah.
I love that idea of, who am I today? What's the one thing that I want to accomplish? And it doesn't like kind of keeping it to that one thing as opposed to there's probably 1 million, but really focusing on that one most important thing and then reflecting on that at the end of the day is really, I love that idea.
Yeah. And I think once it becomes a habit and you really start thinking about it, so I say you don't have to sit down, you don't have to journal, all of us are getting ready in the morning. If you just think for a few minutes intentionally about like, who do I want to be today? What's that going to look like? I think it really does prime us to be our best selves, regardless of what situation you're going to end up in. Of course, I'm connected through coaching, but I just knew that I knew that I needed a coach going back to distance learning. There was no way around that. So I just reached out to folks that I really respected and was like, do you have the bandwidth to coach me? Who's available? And I came up with a really great colleague, and I really could not have made it through without her. And I think, just transitioning last year was so weird and hard. And I think coaches are more important now than ever. Like that's what helps us build resilience, and that's what's going to retain teachers. And so like we just all need a huge network of coaches, regardless of what position you're in. I think, it's all wrapped up in being a learner. Just every day at the end of the day, I kind of reflect back, like, what did I learn how to do today? Or what did I learn about myself? And I think that when we're just really thinking on building our skill set, I think that will always help us know, well, this is where I was in the fall, or this is where I was last year. And it really helps us establish that we've made a growth in ourselves. And I like to list sometimes, like, what are the things that are going right for me right now? And sometimes I'll sit down with colleagues or my coach, and I'll do that as well. Because I think, just like you're saying, you have to acknowledge the positives. Otherwise, I think we will get super overwhelmed with how challenging things are. I watched that whole thing several times because I felt like there were so many great strategies. And something she recommended was to make a joy list, which is thinking about just like in life. And I was thinking sort of personally and professionally, like when do you feel energized, and when do you feel excited, and just like your best self, and then just making a list of those times or places. And it really took me some time to think about that. But I think that reflecting on that was really helpful to like identify actual spaces, people, interactions that bring me joy, because then I know that I'm excited and I'm more open to like learning and growing myself in that space. Yeah, I think that like a lot of my work in the last couple of years has really been focused on helping teams, because there's teacher teams, there's coaching teams, and everybody was really isolated when we were working from home. And so there was sort of those struggles of feeling isolated, but then everybody being thrown back together and maybe not having a sense of like, not just like community, but also a sense of collective efficacy to begin with. So I 100% absolutely cannot recommend more that coaches use protocols in their meetings whenever they're together, but whether it's a PLC or just a regular team meeting, because we don't have a lot of time. There's never enough time to do everything. So a protocol is going to keep us not only like really managing our time well, but also helping people get into like some deeper level of thinking together. And inevitably, I think teams realize like, wow, we're all working really hard in these individual ways, but it impacts the collective overall. And I think that from experience, I've never once had somebody complain like, oh, we did a success analysis. People love it.
That was terrible. Yeah. Well, and then it goes along with like the positivity, right? And the joy and the bringing to the table the things that are going well. And I think that we are not programmed as humans to think about positive things. We're programmed to see the negative.
Yes.
And if we don't have protocols and things like that in place, it could be the whole PLC is talking about all the bad things that are happening and complaining and test scores and whatever.
When you really sit down with a protocol, that people unlock areas that they didn't really realize that they had, and also I think, I've been on a lot of teams and sometimes they're not as healthy as others. And so even if it's a particularly unhealthy team or even a toxic team, when you focus on the positive, they're building empathy. And I know that that is something that toxic teams really need to be able to do, is come together on something that is working.
How do you manage the time for all of these tools that we're talking about?
Yeah, I do a thing. This is just my thing, but like clean eating, it's like cut out the junk food. I call it clean coaching, where it's like cut out the junk. You only have a certain amount of time. And so you have to be really clear on your goals and really prioritize only those goals. because I think in education, like we always have new ideas and, you know, there's so much energy. And I think a lot of people outside education might not realize just like how quick we're constantly moving and problem solving. But in a way, sometimes that can almost get us off track. And so that's why I say like clean coaching is just like, what are your goals before the end of the year? What do you absolutely need to get done? And if it doesn't fall within that bucket of work or those couple of buckets of work, you just got to go, I don't have time.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know, and use good phrasing. You're just like, you know, how does this fall under our bigger picture? Oh, it doesn't. I guess we're not going to be able to get to that this year.
Yeah.